are dead for that!
That's what we've been waiting for!
Well, that's what I've been waiting for, at least, and it was definitely worth it. Helluva Boss Season 2's finale, Sinsmas, just dropped and did a great job at ripping my heart to pieces right before Christmas. It's just what I needed around this time. From the music, visuals, and all the emotional damage these characters received, this definitely felt like a strong send-off for this season, in my opinion. Although I gotta deduct some points for Visago not showing up. What would have normally been a 9 out of 10 finale for me gets dropped down to a, let me do the math real quick. 3 out of 10. It is what it is. There's a lot to cover and speculate on what's to come after this finale, so I'm going to be breaking down everything here like I did with Mastermind a few weeks ago. Let's get right into it.
It'll be rather amusing to squash you all.
So Sinsmas more or less picked up right where Mastermind left off. Stolas having lost his royal status in hell and still living with Blitz at his apartment, and I'm sure to nobody's surprise, struggling quite a bit to adjust to this new lifestyle. But at the same time, it's one of those things where reality hasn't really sunk in with him completely, because we got a couple scenes of him looking through Blitz's bathroom cabinet looking for his anti-depression or happy pills that he always took when he was still living at the castle. And taking those pills every day, even after his separation from Stella, became part of his daily routine, and I appreciate the subtlety there of Stolas continuing to subconsciously look for them. At the same time, Stolas would continue to make an effort to contact Octavia, although Stella is doing everything in her power to make sure that phone call never happens. When it comes to Octavia living with Stella, it felt like the episode was trying to imply Stella and Andrealphus' attitude about Stolas was eventually getting to Octavia. Like, it was making her upset at first that her mom was acting this way, but over time, Octavia started to develop more of a resentment toward her dad too. And when Stolas first tried calling, Octavia looked genuinely happy to be hearing from him. Then we hear her song came in. She wasn't really singing about missing him. It was more so about how she's bitter about how it felt like Blitz became more of a priority than she did, feeling completely betrayed by his actions, yet accepting the fact that she doesn't really want him in her life anymore. That song was incredible, by the way. Barrett Weed did such a fantastic job for Octavia's singing debut, and maybe the recency bias is doing most of the talking here, but she might have one of my favorite singing voices in the entire Helluva Boss cast.
Or are you just another ghost?
Loved how the song was meant to act as a dark parallel to Stolas' lullaby from the Lululand episode. Even the visuals felt similar, a bunch of shooting stars and the world cracking around her just like in the original song, only instead of it being seen as beautiful, it feels like it's representing Octavia's world completely breaking apart around her. Like I said before, the visuals from this episode as a whole went completely sicko mode, and the way they were used in Via's song were some of the best use of said visuals. Stolas would continue to try and contact Via more, but to no avail. We were now at a point in time where about a full month had passed since Stolas had been staying at Blitz's place, and nothing was really improving. If anything, Stolas was getting worse despite Blitz trying to cheer him up as much as possible. Even taking him to IMP's office on their holiday Sinsmas didn't really do much. Sinsmas is actually a real thing. It's basically Hell's version of Christmas, where you take a day to appreciate one of the 7 sins or something, and telling those around you what you don't like about them. At least that's what Millie and Moxie were doing. It got pretty violent at times, but to them it was all in good fun for the spirit of the season. This episode showing us just how disconnected Stolas is from the other classes was nice, because he really needed this wake-up call after everything he'd done. The food Blitz was making completely foreign to him, except for the eggs, I suppose. Plus, he didn't even know what Sinsmas was. The way he reacted to it made it seem like it's only a holiday the lower class will celebrate. And once everyone's at the IMP office, Stolas is tasked to man the phone so Luna can join them on a job for once. But once the client gets there and tells the story about how she wants her husband dead after he cheated on her with another man, it sends Stolas into a bit of a spiral, since he and Blitz are in identical positions to the two men on the surface, while this sinner woman is like a Stella stand-in. He already felt terrible about everything, so seeing a total stranger indirectly validate Stella's take on the whole situation obviously made things worse. At least the gang didn't actually go through with killing these two guys, because Blitz saw how happy they are, and he eventually wants to have exactly what these two guys have, his own found family with Stolas, Luna, and Octavia living happily together. Which, to be honest, is more than likely going to happen at some point. This show isn't ending anytime soon as far as I'm aware. We got confirmation up to season 4, and that might not even be the last one. Regardless, that scene felt like a sneak peek at the true endgame of the show, in my opinion. If the series finale does some kind of callback to the shot of Blitz imagining everyone together like this, that'd be cool. Millie was the only one who was on edge about wanting to get the job done. She was notably out of it for the majority of this episode and couldn't really figure out why until the very end. Yeah, she's pregnant, and that's why. Definitely a pretty major plot twist that I wasn't expecting to happen, but could be interesting depending on how it's done. The way Helluva Boss handles the concept of time within different episodes varies, of course. When you couple that with the assumption mention Millie will go through the whole 9-month pregnancy period like normal humans, there's a lot of potential for not only good comedy tied to Millie's mood swings or cravings, but potential relationship issues or growth between the M&Ms because of the pregnancy. Absolute worst case scenario, in my opinion, is the first episode of season 3 opening with the baby already being born and the M&Ms completely adjusted to the parenting lifestyle off rip with no kind of build-up or showings. Only way it would be a bit more justifiable if they did this is if they built it up through the shorts, because Viv did say the shorts would still be releasing on a semi-regular basis while season 3 is being worked on in the background. But ideally, they expand upon it in full-length episodes. The fact that this is implied to be an unplanned pregnancy should be enough. As far as I'm aware, these two never really had any conversations about a desire to have kids, let alone the concept of general parenthood. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but I don't think I am. So while the IMP guys were ditching the mission, Stolas decided it was time to stop moping around and go see Octavia, regardless of the consequences he may face. Meanwhile, Octavia finds Stolas' happy pill stash and begins to think even lower of her father. So she shows up to IMP HQ looking for him while Stolas confronts Andrealphus at his old house. While it was satisfying seeing Stolas whoop Andrealphus' ass for a bit, I knew that wouldn't last long. When the fight really began between Andrealphus and the IMP group for that 5-minute sequence, that was my favorite part of the episode, no question. The heavy metal music playing in the background was the perfect choice for a fight like this. If the Carol of the Bells song has taught me anything, it's metal music and Christmas go very well together. Being able to see more of Andrealphus' cryokinesis on display was something I'd been waiting to see for months. The way the crew went with the decision to have the majority of his attacks come from his peacock tail feathers as they morphed into sharp icicles was a great creative decision that complements his design and fighting style. Another neat detail was the confirmation of Andrealphus being a Marquis of Hell, which, to be fair, was something a lot of people already assumed about him since the demon Andrealphus from Solomon was also said to be a Marquis. It was just one of those things where it was never flat out stated within the show until now. Interesting how he still holds the title of Marquis and not Prince now, though. I figured his status would have been upgraded even if temporarily after the Mastermind trial, but I guess not. Luna getting an upgraded demon form was also cool and unexpected. I guess this is a form she only takes if things get really serious throughout a fight, because she stayed normal against the dorks and the cherubs. Andrealphus is definitely stronger than these guys, though. That guy looks like he has a regenerative healing factor because he recovered extremely quickly from both Stolas laying him out and Luna gnawing on his neck. If y'all would be down to hear me talk about Andrealphus' strength in its own video, let me know, because he's got some of the coolest powers in the show, no pun intended. The way the second half of the fight took more of a medieval fairy tale vibe was a nice touch. We got Andrealphus playing the role of the evil dragon, Blitz is the brave knight, Luna is the trusty steed, and Stolas the damsel in distress, and the M&Ms are the supports, I suppose. This isn't even enough to take this guy down, though, because instead of a one-headed ice dragon, he spawns a bigger 3-headed ice hydra. It just goes to show how strong these higher class demons can be. IMP is already an incredibly dangerous squad when working together, and they still almost lost to Andrealphus fighting alone. Octavia swooping in saved their asses hardcore. I'm gonna sound like a nitpicky bitch here, but was it weird to anyone else how she didn't show up until the very end when the earlier part of the episode implied they all went to Stolas' house together? We wouldn't have gotten that awesome fight scene if she was there from the jump, though, would we? I don't know, kinda gave me the same vibes of Lucifer not showing up to the hotel's extermination day war until Charlie was about to be killed by Adam. Regardless, it was still cool to see Octavia's powers at work for once. The fact that she's still as young as she is and was able to completely match and disintegrate her uncle's Hydra that quickly is insane. More of a reason why I'm kinda bummed we haven't really seen Stolas do a whole lot of fighting using his own magical abilities, because if his daughter was able to do that, I can only imagine what he was capable of if he wanted to go all out in the same fashion as his brother-in-law was in this fight. Andrealphus probably wouldn't have stood a chance. And I just don't know if we're even gonna see showings like that from Stolas in the near future unless, Satan reverses the spell or whatever. With Andrealphus' dragon gone and the threat of his image being tarnished in Stella's eyes due to losing to the IMP crew, he backs off for now. Thank God this guy is still going to be around, by the way. I was genuinely worried about the possibility of Andrealphus being more or less gone from the Stolas plotline after this episode. Helluva Boss pacing can be kind of unpredictable, as we know, so there was that sense of concern in me deep down. Luckily, these worries are squandered, and I can look forward to seeing more of him in Season 3. Following the conclusion to this fight, Stolas tries to finally have some time with Octavia, only for her to reject him completely. Feeling like she'd only been an obligation to him her whole life, and thinking the happy pills Stolas was taking were because of her. And no matter how much Stolas begs and pleads for her to hear him out, she isn't having any of it. Until further notice, Stolas' relationship with his daughter is completely squandered. It's inevitable these two will reconcile before the end of the show. It's just the question is how. Because right now, Stolas feels like he has no hope of mending things for the next 100 years. And even at that point, it'll have been so long since they've seen each other that he thinks by the time he can see her again, the amount of time spent apart would make it impossible for that old relationship to be rebuilt. Okay, so crackpot theory time. Visago becomes the key to mending the relationship between these guys. Or at the very least, the reason Stolas will be able to see her again before the 100-year time period. Visago doesn't like Andrealphus and seems to have a bit of a soft spot for Stolas. On top of Solomon describing him as a prince of good nature, it would probably be in character for Visago to lend Stolas a helping hand here. Not sure how he's going to react to his relationship with Blitz, but that's a scenario to come back to another day. Stolas really can't catch a break though, can he? I know he's to blame for a lot of these situations because, like Octavia said, he did make the conscious decisions to get himself into these situations, but we can't deny he is definitely reaping what he's sown. Octavia was the only other thing besides Blitz that was still keeping him going after Mastermind, and now she's gone too. It's just wild how Blitz has been at his happiest for the past couple episodes, while Stolas has continued to get lower and lower. These guys can't have their true happy ending until both can be happy at the same time. It's just how it's gotta be. Stolas still doesn't regret saving Blitz's life though and choosing him, which, you know, props to him for sticking to his guns about that, because Blitz did actually come around and risk his own life fighting Andrealphus. But that doesn't change the fact that V is still gone. At least Blitz can relate in some way because of his strained relationship with Barbie. Both of these guys lost family members they used to be extremely close to and feel like they have no way of mending that relationship at the moment. Part of me was almost starting to forget about Barb, to be honest. The fact that Blitz mentioned her here has me hopeful she'll play a bigger role next season, because that's another thing that needs to be resolved before the end of the series. Blitz didn't specifically mention why Barbie hates him when talking to Stolas, but I'd have to imagine it's how he started the fire that killed their mom. So she blames Blitz for their mother's death and can't forgive him. At least not yet. A very cute ending scene too of Blitz and Stolas dancing. It goes to show how their relationship has started to evolve from more than just kinky sex stuff in Blitz's eyes. Now he's the one initiating more romantic acts of kindness like dancing or simply a warm hug. Very enjoyable, good finale in my opinion. One of the best episodes from this season as well. I think I liked it a bit more than Mastermind, and that was already a big highlight of the season for me, despite still having some issues. Would love to know what you guys thought about this episode and what you hope to see from season 3, even if we gotta potentially wait until 2026. Quick thanks to my gold tier patrons, BFP4, Izzytorium, Draconish, and Agender Fox. You guys' support really means the world to me. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe for more content like this in the future. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.